Dear listeners, before we get started, drop a quick hi in the comments and let us know where you're tuning in from. Also, if you have any suggestions for us to make the channel better, please let us know. Now let's start with the story. I was 3 drinks deep into what I'd call a beautifully unproductive Tuesday night. The bar was quiet, lit like a noir film trying too hard, and smells vaguely like old beer and newer regret. I was minding my own business, whiskey in hand, scrolling through memes I'd already seen 5 times, when I noticed him. A guy sitting alone in the corner booth, just staring at his table. Not drinking, not eating, just giving his tabletop the kind of attention most men reserve for their taxes or their ex-wife's Instagram. I tried to ignore it, but my curiosity got the better of me. And by curiosity, I mean boredom mixed with alcohol and poor judgment. So I walked over, leaned casually against the booth like a nosy cowboy, and said, "Hey there, partner. You lost in thought or just trying to psychically intimidate that salt shaker?" Nothing. Not even a blink. The guy just sat there, still looking down like the table owed him money. So naturally, I did the polite thing. I sat down uninvited. Now, etiquette says if someone sits down next to you unannounced, you either punch them or say hello. This guy did neither. He just kept staring like I was a ghost. And frankly, I'd make a terrible one. Too chatty. I cleared my throat. Loudly. Still nothing. And just when I was about to say something witty like, "Blink twice if you're being haunted," the guy slowly turned his head and looked right at me. His eyes were red, wet, and glassy. Not, "I just watched The Notebook," wet, but more like, "I'm 6 existential crises deep and forgot how chairs work." He said, finally, in a voice so soft it made NPR sound like heavy metal. "Hello. Now, I'm not a therapist. I don't even play one on TV. But I could tell something was eating at him. And me being the thoughtful idiot I am, I nodded solemnly and said, "Well, glad to see your vocal cords still work." Thought I was talking to a mannequin with depression. He almost cracked a smile. Almost. Instead, he blinked slowly, looked back at the table, and sighed like someone who had just remembered all their passwords were expired. We sat in silence for a moment. I stared at him. He stared at the table. I started wondering what the table had done to deserve this level of scrutiny. I finally said, "Look, I don't mean to intrude." "Well, I obviously am intruding, but whatever's going on in your head seems loud enough to drown out the jukebox. And that thing's playing Nickelback, so that's saying something." The man sniffled, wiped his eyes with the back of his hand, and just nodded. "Yep, definitely haunted. So now I'm just sitting across from this human rain cloud named Mystery Man. He's got the kind of look in his eyes that says, I've either just lost everything or I've watched 6 hours of Hallmark movies against my will." I take another sip of my drink and go for it. "You all right?" I ask, knowing damn well he's not. I mean, obviously not. "You look like a sad jazz song. But if you feel like unloading your emotional dumpster fire on a complete stranger, I'm all ears. I'm Wyatt, by the way, local drinker and part-time life coach." He pauses, long enough that I start to wonder if I've broken him permanently. But then, he lets out a breath that sounds like it was holding back a tornado of feelings, and finally says, "My name is Alex." Well, we've broken the name barrier. Progress. He continues, "I've been married to Julia for 6 years with 2 children. I nod politely. "Congratulations." I think. He doesn't even flinch, which tells me we're definitely not at the congratulations part. Then he drops it. "Today, I found out my wife is cheating on me." "Oh damn," I say, grimacing like I just bit into a lemon full of betrayal. "That's brutal, man. I'm guessing this wasn't the anniversary gift you were hoping for." He shakes his head, eyes back on the table like it personally betrayed him too. "With my neighbor." I blink. Slowly. "Your neighbor?" I repeat, trying to sound shocked, but mostly impressed by the cliché. "Wow, that's rich. Cheating with the guy whose Wi-Fi you probably mooch off of? That's just lazy and disrespectful. Whatever happened to the 10 Commandments?" He lets out a small, joyless laugh, like I just handed him a balloon filled with emotional poison. 6 years, he says again, mostly to himself. 6 years of marriage and she cheats with someone in the blast radius of your front porch. I mutter, "Jesus, at least have the decency to outsource the affair to a different zip code." Julie is not just a cheater, man. She's inefficient. He actually smiles at that. Barely, but I count it as a win. I lean back, arms folded. "So what now? You torch his lawn? Slash her tires? Eat all the ice cream in your freezer and cry in the shower? No judgment here." He shrugs. "I don't know. I just ended up here." "Well, welcome," I say, raising my glass. "To heartbreak, whiskey, and strangers who ask too many questions." He clinks my glass with his water. It's sad. It's awkward. But hey, misery loves company, and I apparently love drama I didn't have to pay for. Alex sits there, still swirling in his own emotional hurricane, when I decide, Hell, if we're trauma bonding tonight, might as well bring my own wreckage to the table. I clear my throat and say, all right, Alex, buckle up. Let me tell you a story, because misery's like tequila shots. It goes down better when shared and followed by poor decisions. He looks at me, still teary-eyed, but curious. So, 2 years back, I was a married man too. I begin, dramatically, like I'm narrating my own soap opera. And one fine Tuesday, because betrayal loves a weekday, I find out my lovely wife is doing the horizontal hokey-pokey with someone who wasn't me. Alex's eyebrows twitch. He's listening now. I go on. Now, considering my past, and by past, I mean the version of me that had anger issues, trust issues, and a deep love for true crime documentaries, I had options. Oh yeah, I could have gone full Greek tragedy. Kill her. Kill the affair partner. Maybe end up on a Dateline special called He Seemed So Normal. Or hey, could have done the dramatic walk into the ocean thing and made it everyone else's problem. I pause for dramatic effect. Alex stares. But I didn't do any of that. I say, holding up a finger like I'm about to give a TED Talk on Emotional Restraint 101. You know what I did? He shakes his head. I simply walked away, I say, shrugging. Didn't scream. Didn't throw anything. I packed a duffel bag like I was going camping in the woods of disappointment, and I checked myself into the nearest motel that didn't smell like despair and raccoons. Alex blinks, almost smiling. That night, I continue. I stood in front of the crusty motel bathroom mirror, looking at my own reflection, shirtless, with a vending machine Snickers in one hand and a half-drunk root beer in the other, and thought, what the actual hell am I doing? Sounds rough, Alex murmurs. Rough, I scoff. Buddy, the lighting in that bathroom added 10 years to my face. It looked like I was already halfway through my villain origin story. He snorts a little. Progress. I lean in slightly. But that's when it hit me. Somewhere between the pity sugar rush and the existential staring contest with myself, I realized I didn't want to be the guy who lets someone else's betrayal write the rest of his story. I wasn't going to jail, I wasn't going to die, and I sure as hell wasn't going to let some cheating spouse be the final chapter. Alex leans back, nodding slowly. And then, he asks. And then, I say with a grin. I got a full 8 hours of sleep on a mattress that felt like it was made of cinder blocks and old secrets. But it was my mattress. No lies. No drama. Just back pain and peace. He lets out an actual laugh this time. Real and alive. There we go, I say, raising my drink. Welcome to the club, Alex. Membership sucks, but at least we've got stories and sarcasm. Lots of it. Alex's laugh fades, but he's still watching me, like maybe I've got a few brain cells worth listening to. And what can I say? I love an audience, even if it's a guy fresh off the emotional guillotine. I swirl what's left of my drink and lean back, giving him a grin that says you're about to hear some dumb life choices dressed up like wisdom. You know, Alex, I say, when I was young, and by young, I mean stupid with energy, I did all the shady things. You name it, I've probably done it. Not murder, obviously, because I like sleeping in beds and not prison cots. But yeah, my moral compass didn't so much point north as it just spun like a drunk Roomba. Alex raises an eyebrow. I probably would have kept living that life too, I admit, just rolling through chaos like it was a career path. But then one day, I saw her. I paused for dramatic flair, staring off like I'm auditioning for a romantic drama on basic cable. She wasn't my wife then, of course, I say. Just this woman who walked into the same gas station I was buying energy drinks and lottery tickets in. Real classy setting. But something about her, her laugh, her eyes, the way she didn't immediately mace me. Something changed in me. Alex actually looks surprised. Honestly, same. I just wanted to start over, I tell him. Wanted to be better. Wanted to have, I don't know, a life with her. A clean one. With taxes and furniture and arguments about curtains. I take a sip, then shake my head. I won't get into my love story right now, I say, waving a hand. Because frankly, it all feels fake at this point. Like I hallucinated the whole romance and got tricked into a 6-year fever dream sponsored by betrayal. Alex chuckles, soft but real. But yeah, I was mad in love. Totally gone. The kind of guy who started Googling how to fold fitted sheets just to impress her. Madman stuff. There's a pause. Then I smirk. Of course, back then, everyone knew me by a different name. Alex tilts his head. What was it? I sigh, finishing my drink. They called me Bad Man. He blinks. Seriously? Yep, I nod. Not because I was cool or mysterious, because I was a walking red flag with commitment issues and a hobby of being mildly illegal. Alex bursts out laughing. I shrug. What can I say? You do enough dumb things, and your nickname stops being a joke and becomes your whole damn brand. He's still laughing when I motion to the bartender for another round. Because nothing bonds two broken men faster than heartbreak, whiskey, and a ridiculous nickname from your criminally stupid past. I swirl my fresh drink, look at Alex, who's now staring at me like I'm a late-night Netflix docuseries with questionable morals, and say, so, coming back to that motel mirror moment I told you about. I lean in a bit, lowering my voice like I'm about to confess to war crimes. But in reality, I'm just being dramatic because, well, that's how I cope. That was the day I decided, nah, I'm not gonna just let her cheat on me and walk away like she dropped a spoon and went, oops, my bad. Alex nods, eyes wide now. I stayed in that crusty little motel for 3 days. I continue. 3 days of bad instant coffee, worse towels, and existential dread. And in that time, I got to work. Called in every favor I had. Pulled some strings. Hired a private investigator named Gary who dresses like he's in a permanent undercover sting at a bowling alley. He snorts. I nod seriously. Gary gets the job done. I say, even if he looks like his last successful case involved finding a missing sandwich. Alex laughs harder now, but I keep going. So we dig. And surprise, surprise, the guy she was sleeping with? Some divorced smooth talker she met at a bar. Apparently, he flirted with her over cocktails and shared sad divorce stories until she handed over her number like it was a flyer for a new yoga class. I pause to sip my drink and look at Alex, deadpan. And what do you know? One thing leads to another and bam. They're having an affair like it's a side project. Alex winces. Now, I say, holding up a finger like I'm presenting exhibit. I know what you're thinking. Where the hell was your wife during these 3 days, Wyatt? And did she know you knew? Right. Alex nods, fully invested. Well, I say she did call me. What did you tell her, he asks. I grin. Told her there was an urgent work thing. Last-minute flight. Had to go, we'll be back soon, blah blah blah. Classic non-suspicious husband lie. Totally believable, delivered with Oscar-worthy conviction. He laughs, covering his face with his hands. Meanwhile, I say, I'm pacing around that motel room like a conspiracy theorist, using red yarn and sticky notes to map out betrayal like I'm planning a heist. Alex can barely breathe from laughing now. But the key thing was, I say, calming slightly, she didn't know I knew. Which gave me all the power. Because when someone stabs you in the back, the best thing you can do is not flinch. Just sit there and let them think you're still clueless, while you're loading the receipts. Alex stares at me, half horrified, half impressed. I raise my glass. To mirrors, motel rooms, and pretending to be on a business trip while plotting emotional vengeance. Cheers, buddy. He clinks his glass to mine without hesitation. We're 2 men, sitting in a dimly lit bar, one freshly betrayed, the other seasoned and marinated in betrayal, bonding over the worst days of our lives, with sarcasm and just the right amount of petty. I give Alex a look, the kind you give someone right before you serve them a cold plate of poetic justice, and say, so now that I knew who her affair partner was, the next part was obvious. They both had to suffer. Alex blinks. Damn. Oh, yeah. I nod, swirling my drink like a Bond villain with budget trauma. I wasn't going to be one of those turn the other cheek guys. Please. I only have 2 cheeks and neither of them is available for nonsense. He snorts. But to make them suffer, I needed time. Planning. Precision. A few supplies and a calm face, which, frankly, is not my default setting. But here's the thing. I also had to go home. Just once. Do a little reconnaissance, you know? Act like the oblivious, loving husband so I could buy myself more runway. So you went back? Alex asks. Oh yeah, I say. After 3 days in that godforsaken motel, sleeping on what felt like a cement slab wrapped in a curtain, I drove back like I'd just returned from a top-secret mission. Walked into the house with my bag slung over my shoulder, kissed her on the cheek, and said, honey, I'm home, like a sitcom husband who didn't just uncover betrayal with Wi-Fi and an angry PI named Gary. Alex chuckles. She looked at me all sweet and surprised. I continue. Like, oh, you're back already. Which loosely translates to, crap, I hope I deleted those texts. I take a long sip of my drink and shake my head. I told her, don't get too excited. I'll only be here a day or 2. Some big client emergency. I'll have to fly out again soon. And did she buy it? Alex asks. I lean back, smirking. Oh, she bought it. Hook, line, and holy hell she was relieved. I could see it in her face. She tried to hide it. Bit her lip. Gave me the whole I'll miss you so much speech. But I could see the joy leaking out of her pores like she just won a weekend getaway with her sleazy bartender boyfriend. Alex bursts into laughter. I mean, credit to her acting. I say. She even gave me that soft hug, the kind where you pat the back like you're really feeling something. But I could tell. Behind those I'll miss you eyes, Was a full-blown mental calendar being updated in real time? I raised my eyebrows at Alex. That's when I knew she was ready to jump right back into her little rendezvous circus. And I was ready too, except my version involved less kissing and more quiet destruction. Alex exhales, half laughing, half shocked. You're something else, man. I clink my glass against his again. Nah, I'm just a reformed bad man with a decent poker face and an above-average talent for spotting liars. But thanks for noticing. I leaned back in my chair, let out a long sigh, and took a sip of my drink. Alex was already staring at me like I was narrating a Quentin Tarantino fever dream. So, as I already told her, I said, I had to leave again for a few more days on that important work trip. You know, top secret, urgent, very serious stuff. A totally fabricated crisis that just so happened to buy me time. And you really left? He asked. Oh, I boarded that plane. All right, I said with a grin. Right to London, baby. I wasn't about to sit around the corner spying like a desperate sitcom husband. No, I needed luxury, distance, and a 5-star alibi. Alex raised his eyebrows. But before I left, I added, lowering my voice like I was about to reveal the Ark of the Covenant. I made sure my house was fully rigged, surveillance everywhere. Audio, video, motion sensors, the works. I had my living room looking like a Marvel villain's lair, minus the monologue chair. Alex blinked. Seriously? Yep. Every corner. I wasn't gonna miss a single whimper, whisper, or wine cork pop. I said. So while I was lounging in a London hotel suite, sipping whiskey, I didn't have to hide from anyone. My little plan was in motion. I leaned in closer, savoring the moment. As predicted, she calls her beloved affair partner. Come over, she says. Stay the night, she says. And that fool. Oh, he came. Wearing cheap cologne and a guilty conscience. Alex swallowed. Damn. Oh, it gets better, I said. They poured my wine. My damn wine, Alex. Vintage I'd been saving for a special occasion. Apparently, she thought screwing around behind my back counted. He let out a half-shocked laugh. So they do what cheaters do, I said with a shrug. Giggling, whispering, moaning. It was like bad amateur theater. Honestly, I felt insulted by the lack of originality. I paused, eyes narrowed. Next morning, lover boy wakes up. Still groggy. Probably hungover. Turns to his right, bam. Pool of blood. Alex stiffened. Right next to him, I said slowly, my wife. Lifeless. Not moving. Blood everywhere. Not exactly the continental breakfast he was expecting. He covered his mouth in shock. So what does Genius Boy do? I continued. He panics. Picks up his clothes, scrambles like a raccoon in a trash can, and bolts. But the best part? When he runs out, he forgets the golden rule of crime scenes. Always check your outfit for bloodstains. I raised my brows dramatically. Neighbor sees him, I said. Blood all over. Boxers backwards. Guy looked like a rejected extra from a low-budget slasher flick. Neighbor calls the cops faster than you can say. I didn't do it. Alex blinked, stunned. What the hell, Wyatt? I shrugged. What? I said I wanted them to suffer. I never said it was going to be subtle. Then I grinned, raised my glass again, and added, never underestimate a betrayed man with a flexible schedule and a working knowledge of surveillance equipment. Alex is just sitting there now, eyes wide, jaw halfway to the sticky floor, like he accidentally walked into the wrong bar and found himself trapped in a live crime confessional. I take another casual sip of my drink and continue, like I'm just reminiscing about a weird vacation. So while I'm in London, right? Minding my own business, sipping overpriced tea and pretending to care about museums, my phone rings. I hold up an imaginary phone and go into character. It's my neighbor. Real nosy guy. Talks like he narrates old detective novels. He goes, Wyatt, some half-naked man just bolted out of your house and peeled off in a car like he left the oven on. I've already called the cops. Something's not right. I nod solemnly, reenacting my own reaction. And I go, oh no, let me try calling Julia. Then I hang up dramatically like I'm about to save the day, when in reality, I'm just covering my ass for the statement later. Alex's face is frozen somewhere between horrified and mildly terrified. So I call her. I say, waving my hand. Once, twice, a dozen times. Nothing. Not even a voicemail. Just cold silence. But hey, I had to try, right? Paper trail. Classic innocent husband move. He stares. I keep going. Fast forward. I come back home. And surprise, surprise, I'm hit with the news. Tragic. Devastating. Wife found dead in her own home. Cops everywhere. Tape across the door. Neighbors looking at me like I'm about to snap and join a cult. I shrug. But of course, I already knew the story. I had the deluxe spoiler package. One cop pulls me aside, starts asking a few basic questions. Where was I? Who was I with? Why was my front door open like it owed money? Alex leans forward. And then he says, I mimic in a gruff cop voice. We've got a guy in custody. Ran out of your house this morning. Looked like a butcher shop exploded on him. Do you know him? I take a deep breath and stare into my glass like it holds moral clarity. And I go, no, never seen him before in my life. Alex blinks. Just like that. Just like that, I say. I kept the face straight. Grieving husband, confused, shocked, tragic figure. But deep down, oh, I knew exactly who he was. And more importantly, what had happened. He looks like he wants to ask, but doesn't. So I oblige. You're probably wondering what happened, right? I say with a smirk. How everything just clicked into place like some grim fairy tale. He nods slowly. Well, I say, lowering my voice, I have a friend. Let's just say, he's in a line of work that doesn't involve business cards or daylight. Alex looks vaguely afraid to ask for specifics. When I found out about the affair, I go on. I called him. Gave him the details. He's very professional. Very clean. Doesn't make mistakes. We came up with a plan. I tapped the bar twice with my fingers, like it's all part of the blueprint. We knew there'd be wine. My wife had a thing for it, especially the ones I was saving for non-cheating occasions. So we made sure the wine bottle would be changed. Spiked. Alex swallows hard. So once they were out, I say, once the wine kicked in, my friend and his crew slipped in, freed my wife from the scene, and staged it. Like her affair partner had lost it. Wine, blood, chaos. The works. The scene told its own story. One that ended with a panicked man in bloodstained boxers running to his own doom. Alex is staring at me like I just told him I invented vengeance. And the best part, I add, they wiped the surveillance. No recordings. No cameras. Just one very convenient tragedy and one very confused suspect. He leans back slowly, glass in hand, blinking. Jesus, he mutters. Nah. I say, smirking. He wouldn't have the stomach for it. This took planning. And a little leftover bad man energy. Then I raise my glass, dead serious. To being underestimated, my friend. It's the quiet ones you gotta watch out for. Alex clinks his glass without a word. He's learning. After a long pause where Alex just sits there looking like he's trying to mentally unsee everything I just told him, I lean in and ask calmly. So, what do you want to do, Alex? You want to burn it all down? Kill your wife and the neighbor? Or are you aiming for something with less prison time? He shakes his head quickly. No. I don't want to kill anyone. I mean, I hate them, don't get me wrong, but I'm not trying to go to jail or turn into a headline. I nod, approving. Smart. Headlines are overrated anyway. Half the time they get your mugshot angle wrong. He sighs. I want revenge. Real revenge. The kind that stays with them. I smirk and set my glass down. Well, my friend, I say, stretching a little like I'm about to conduct a masterclass in Emotional Vengeance 101. Now we're talking. Because if there's one thing I excel at, besides drinking and poor relationship decisions, it's revenge. He leans in. Hooked. Vulnerable. Desperate. A beautiful canvas of chaos. I continue, voice low but deliberate. Listen, there's 100 ways to avenge betrayal. Some slow. Some messy. Some that involve goats and questionable Craigslist ads. But for you, you need the quick route. Alex frowns. Quick? I thought you said this kind of stuff takes time. Oh, it does, I say, grinning. But that doesn't mean the impact has to be slow. Sometimes you just need the right spark in the right dumpster. He raises an eyebrow, confused but too emotionally wrecked to argue. So here's what you do. I say, tapping the bar like I'm laying out a blueprint. You set them up. Both of them. The AP and your wife. You don't attack them directly. You make the world suspicious of them. Alex leans in more. How? I chuckle. Easy. You, or, preferably, someone not you, starts making anonymous calls. Reports of suspicious activity. Sketchy people coming in and out. Weird noises at odd hours. You know, the usual this guy's up to something shady script. Alex looks intrigued. To where? The police? Exactly, I say, nodding. Over the next 3 weeks, boom, multiple calls. Different voices. Different times. But all about your dear neighbor. Bonus points if he already rubs people the wrong way, especially the neighborhood husbands. They'll start throwing in stories for free. He laughs under his breath. They do kind of hate him already. Perfect, I grin. Now he's on the police radar. Constant visits. Little warnings. Harmless on paper, but annoying enough to ruin his week and start building a reputation. Alex whistles softly. That's actually kind of genius. I shrug, modest. I know. It's part of my charm. Legal? Debatable. Satisfying? Oh, absolutely. Then I give him a look. You want the slow, soul-crushing kind of revenge where they suffer in silence and paranoia? Buddy, you came to the right washed-up bar philosopher. He raises his glass to mine. To ruining reputations. I clink it and smirk. To creative character assassination, the peaceful man's war. Alex is now listening like I'm reading out the lost scrolls of divine revenge, eyes wide, mouth slightly open, and a little bit of that pathetic heartbroken puppy look replaced by something far more productive, petty rage. I pat him on the shoulder. All right, now that we've got the ball rolling with Officer Friendly paying casual visits to your wife's boy toy, let's kick it up a notch, shall we? He gives me a wary look. What do you mean? I say, lowering my voice like I'm about to confess to hosting an underground crime syndicate. We're going to ruin their lives, legally-ish. Alex shifts. Legally-ish. Relax, I say, waving him off. It's all about using the cracks in the system. Now listen closely. I've got a guy. Let's call him Kevin. That's not his real name, obviously. His real name sounds like something you'd whisper in a dark alley. Kevin's good at acquiring things, specifically, things that law enforcement strongly discourages. Alex's eyes widen. Wait, you mean drugs? Let's not say it too loud, I mutter. Let's just call them career ruiners in powder form. He swallows hard. I have Kevin deliver a lovely little stash to our dear neighbor's property or somewhere that can be tracked by the police. I continue. Tucked neatly somewhere the cops will definitely check the next time they show up because of, oh, look at that. Yet another anonymous tip. Alex shakes his head slowly, stunned. You're actually terrifying. Thank you, I say proudly. But we're not done. Now we deal with her. Alex looks at me, dead serious. You mean my wife? Oh yes, I say. The woman who decided to host adultery matinees while you were at work like a sucker. So here's what I did next. Had another friend of mine. Let's call her Susan. Also not her name. Her real one's more fitting for someone with burner phones and no moral compass. Make a call to DHS. Alex stiffens. Wait. Child Protective Services. Yep, I say casually. She reports that the kids have been left alone multiple times while you, the hard-working husband, were at your job, breaking your back to pay for a house that was doubling as a brothel. Alex winces. Oh, and Susan didn't stop there, I add. She also dropped a little concern about possible signs of neglect, maybe even abuse. His jaw drops. But that's not true. She'd never hurt them. I raise a finger. No one said she did. But the allegation is what matters. DHS isn't in the business of fact-checking over coffee. You get flagged, you get visited. Suddenly, the stay-at-home mom starts sweating bullets. She's the sole caretaker. You're the one with the stable job, clean reputation, and best of all, you're the guy who mows your elderly neighbor's lawn without being asked. He blinks. I do that. Exactly. I shout, pointing. You're the upstanding citizen, the responsible parent. Meanwhile, she's at home fielding visits from caseworkers and hiding wine bottles. Who do you think they're going to believe when it's time to talk custody? He sits back, blinking like he's just seen a ghost, and realized the ghost has excellent strategy. And the best part, I add, grinning, you haven't lifted a finger. Just stayed quiet. Smiled. Played the hurt but dignified father. That, Alex, is how you win. Not with fists, not with fire, but with forms, suspicion, and a very cooperative Kevin. He just nods, slowly, processing everything. Still sure you don't want to kill anyone? I ask casually. He hesitates. Then, no, but I do want to watch them crumble. I raise my glass again. To psychological warfare, the thinking man's chainsaw. I watch Alex down the rest of his drink like he's trying to swallow not just the whiskey, but the entire moral collapse he's just witnessed. I pat him on the back, nice and reassuring, like a war buddy or a tax auditor. Now, I say, when the time was right, and timing is everything in this business, I made one more little call. Alex stares. To the police? I nod, smiling like I'm describing a birthday surprise. Yep. Simple tip. Very concerned citizen routine. There's a car driving erratically in the neighborhood. Looks suspicious. Might be drunk. Possibly high. Please send someone before a toddler on a tricycle becomes roadkill. The usual neighborly panic. Alex frowns. Wait, and you mean the car? Oh yes. I cut in, pleased with myself. The car belonged to the AP. That charming clown with the personality of a wet rag. But here's where it gets deliciously convenient. Beforehand, I made sure Kevin's little care package found its way into the AP's vehicle. I tapped the bar twice for emphasis. Let's just say if the cops looked anywhere near his glove box, they were going to find enough felony sprinkles to make him an involuntary guest of the state. Alex just shakes his head, somewhere between horrified and amazed. How did you make sure he'd be driving right then? That's the art, Alex, I say smugly. That's the symphony. See, by then, I already had her car disabled. His eyebrows shoot up. What? Relax, I say, waving him off. Nothing dramatic. Nothing explodey. Just a few well-placed disconnects under the hood. Enough that she couldn't start the thing, but also wouldn't suspect she was being sabotaged. She'd assume it was just one of those random, ugh, my car hates me moments. Alex chuckles nervously. And guess who she was with when her car conveniently stopped working? I say, grinning. Our dear friend, the AP. Already at his place. Already lounging in betrayal. So of course, he offers to drive her. Chivalry isn't dead. It just rides with contraband and delusion. I pause for effect. She needed someone to help her pick up the kids from school. And with her car out of commission, he was the obvious choice. Boom. He gets in the car. He's got her next to him, running late, flustered, probably already sweating from just existing. And then, Alex asks. And then, I say, he drives right into the trap. Cops stop the car. They find the stash. Kids waiting at school. Wife in the passenger seat. Bad optics, buddy. Really bad optics. Especially for someone who's already on a first-name basis with half the police department thanks to 3 weeks of anonymous calls. Alex just exhales, low and slow, like he's realizing he brought a butter knife to a sniper fight. You're insane, he says, not unkindly. I'm methodical, I correct him. There's a difference. Insane people do things for fun. I do them for closure. Then I grin and knock back the last of my drink. And the best part? All legal. All clean. Just a trail of bad luck, unfortunate timing, and some deeply suspicious coincidences. Alex raises his glass, shaking his head. To coincidences. I clink it with mine. And to people dumb enough to think they can cheat without consequences. So yeah, after all our drinks, late-night scheming, and enough moral gray area to require a priest and a lawyer, me and Alex went back home. And we did exactly what we discussed. Every step, every calculated move. It was like running a heist without ski masks or a soundtrack. We set the stage. We watched. We waited. And you know what? It happened exactly how we expected it to. Well, mostly. The only hiccup, and I use that term generously, like calling a heart attack a mild inconvenience, was timing. See, the police were supposed to bust them before they picked up the kids. That was the plan. That was the neat, clean, child-free setup. But apparently Officer Clueless needed an extra donut or whatever, because by the time they decided to roll up, the cheater caravan had already made it to the school. So now the AP is driving, with kids in the back seat, completely unaware that the next 10 minutes of his life are about to nosedive into a flaming pit of regret. And just as fate would have it, the car had a broken taillight and a missing license plate. Seriously, who drives around with a busted taillight and no tags when they're already swimming in police complaints and hiding felony sprinkles in their glove box? AP, apparently. That's who. So the cop pulls him over. Routine stop. Standard stuff. Flashlight in the window. Polite smile with just a hint of suspicion. And the AP? So confident. Probably thinking, oh, this is nothing. I've got kids in the back seat. I'm untouchable. I'm basically a family man. Right. The officer runs his license. Sees the history. The suspicious activity. The complaints from neighbors. The fact that this guy has been flagged more times than a faulty toaster. And then comes the golden moment. Mind if I search the vehicle? And our genius AP? He consents. Alex and I were watching this from a distance, and I swear to you, when that man nodded and said yes, I felt like I had just won an Oscar for Best Original Petty Plan. The officer searches the car, opens the glove box, peeks under the seat. Boom. There it is. Illicit substances. Very much not legal. Very much not subtle. Very much not supposed to be in a vehicle, especially with kids in the back seat munching on goldfish crackers. Alex turns to me and whispers, "Do you think he's realized yet?" I say, the only thing he's going to realize is that orange jumpsuits don't pair well with midlife crises. The officer's tone changes instantly. Backup is called. The look on AP's face? Pure Shakespearean tragedy. Confusion. Fear. The kind of face you make when you realize you're not the main character anymore. And the wife? She's frozen in the passenger seat, watching her little fantasy collapse in real time while her kids ask, "Mommy, why are the policemen taking your friend's car away?" I looked over at Alex, gave him a small, satisfied nod. "That, my friend," I said, "is the sound of consequences knocking." He just stared ahead, quiet and smiling. For the first time since the bar. I mean, it wasn't just revenge, it was poetry. Handcuffed, humiliated, and high on his own stupidity. So the officer popped the trunk, did a little rummaging, and boom, there it was. Enough fun powder to not only ruin a weekend, but get a nice shiny intent to distribute sticker slapped across the police report. Add that to the fact that they had underage kids in the back seat. It was like handing the justice system a gift basket with a bow on it. Needless to say, they were both promptly arrested. Not questioned. Not warned. Arrested. Cuffed. Hauled in. The whole 9 yards. I looked at Alex and said, "Congratulations. You've just triggered the nuclear option, and it looks good on you. He didn't say much. He just stood there, half shocked, half satisfied, like he couldn't believe it had actually worked. Meanwhile, I was ready to order a cake shaped like a middle finger. Now, with both Mom and Mr. Midlife Disaster in matching jumpsuits, the kids were temporarily taken by DHS, as protocol, and held until Alex could get there and pick them up, which he did. Let me repeat that for the record. Alex got full custody of his children. I mean, the man showed up in court looking like a damn role model out of a brochure. Clean-shaven, responsible, heartbroken but dignified dad. And the court? Ate it up. His wife, on the other hand? Well, let's just say she and the AP had different endings in the courtroom. He got hit with the big one, possession with intent to distribute, plus traffic violations, child endangerment, and enough extra charges to make a rap sheet look like a CVS receipt. 5 years, they said. Might be out in 2 if he stays clean. Which, given his judgment, isn't a strong bet. Personally, I hope his cellmate doesn't like wine. And her? 3 years of probation. 90-day drug treatment program. 6 months of community service. The kind where you wear the neon vest and pick up trash on the side of the highway while drivers honk and yell, "Hey, cheater." She also gets to pee in a cup for her probation officer once a month. Classy. Oh, and guess what? Supervised visitation. That's right. Mommy of the Year has to schedule appointments to see her own kids with someone else in the room, making sure she doesn't offer them wine or introduce them to her next affair partner. I looked at Alex the day he got the paperwork and said, when you first told me you didn't want to kill anybody, I was a little disappointed. But now, I think we found something much better. He smiled. Really smiled. The first real one since the bar. Thanks, Wyatt, he said. I raised my glass. Don't thank me yet, I told him. Wait till she's holding a trash bag on the side of I-90 while her ex-boyfriend does push-ups in county. Cheers to karma, with a little manual adjustment. 2 weeks later, we're back at the same bar, same stools, same dim lighting, same sticky floor. The bartender still pours with the enthusiasm of a man dead inside, and the jukebox hasn't updated since 2004. Alex slides a thick envelope across the bar toward me like we're in a spy movie, except instead of government secrets, it's revenge money and emotional closure. I raise an eyebrow. What's this? A bribe? Or are you just paying me not to speak ever again? He chuckles. 5 grand. Like I promised. For the help. I glance at the envelope, then at him. I usually charge in bourbon and eternal gratitude, but this'll cover gas and trauma nicely. He clinks his glass against mine, and we sip our wine like 2 middle-aged women celebrating a Pinterest win. Real classy. So, I asked the divorce. Filed it this morning, he says, satisfied. Lawyer practically guaranteed I'll walk out with full custody and the house. She's got nothing. No leverage. No car. No credibility. Her AP's in county jail pretending to be a yoga instructor. And she's too busy picking trash off highways to even contest. I grin. Now that's the kind of co-parenting setup therapists dream about. He laughs. Really laughs. And for the first time, he looks like a man who actually slept last night. Like he's no longer trying to mentally strangle someone through a pillow. As for me, well, I sit back, sip my wine, and look around the bar. Same cracked booths. Same worn wood. Same guys nursing heartbreak or just looking for something to numb the sting. And I think to myself, this is it. This is my ministry. Helping betrayed husbands find peace or revenge. Sometimes both. It's not glamorous. There's no cape. No hotline. But if you're a guy whose wife cheated with the next-door gym rat, or that sleazy coworker who always wore cologne named Troy, and you don't want to end up crying in a Target parking lot or setting your car on fire, I'm your man. Revenge isn't just sweet, it's orderly if done right. And I've made it my personal mission to help husbands find their closure, one cheating AP at a time. I raise my glass again, watching Alex scroll through his phone, probably texting a babysitter like a responsible adult. And me? I'll still be right here, at the bar, waiting. Because somewhere out there, another guy's life is imploding, and I've got wine, surveillance gear, and Kevin on speed dial. Life is good. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.